Hey there, Bulldog fans, and welcome into the Bulldog Blitz. I'm your host, Mark Minner. Coming up on today's show, Shelvin Mack announced his decision this week regarding the NBA. The women's basketball team handed out their postseason awards, and Jenny Esparza has been leading the Butler softball team through league play. But up first, it was a much-anticipated decision after the national championship. Will Shelvin Mack stay at Butler, or will he chase after the money and go to the NBA? Just like in last year's cage, in which Coach Stevens had to advise Gordon Hayward whether or not to go to the NBA, he did so again with Mack. Earlier this week, Shelvin announced that his decision was to declare for the draft, but that he would not hire an agent. This means that he still has the option of returning back to school if he decides by May 8th. That is the date for all upperclassmen players to decide in order to retain their eligibility if they don't hire an agent. Underclassmen need to decide by April 24th. Shelvin helped the Bulldogs to back-to-back national championship appearances and did so by scoring 20-plus points in 3 of 6 tournament games this season. Let's take a look at those stats from Shelvin Mack. Shelvin played in 38 games for the Dogs, averaging a little over 32 minutes per contest out on that court. I know it was a big deal early on with Shelvin for cramping that Duke game, in particular back on December 4th when they had a chance to take down the Blue Devils in New Jersey. But since that point, Mack really got healthier, started not cramping up in those games, and the results showed just that, averaging 16 points per game for the Bulldogs. He shot 41% from the field, 35% from beyond the arc, and you saw in that later stretch in the tournament run, Shelvin becoming ever so confident from beyond that three-point arc, stop and pop right in transition. From the free throw line, he was a 77% free throw shooter, and then you look at rebounding per game, he still had 4.5 per contest, and Butler, a very good rebounding team for their guards, and that helped throughout the season when they had those struggles and able to get back on that winning stretch. 3.4 assists per game to 2.4 turnovers, so that assist-to-turnover ratio, 1.4 for Mack, a good number. Steals per game, 0.8, and just a tenth of a block per game. But Shelvin going to be working on trying to get more ball handling as he prepares for the NBA, whether or not he comes back for next season. Well, Shelvin's decision has been felt throughout the campus where students are wondering, will he stay or will he go now? For more on what are on the minds of the Butler students, Matt Werner has more.
With the 9th pick in the 2010 NBA Draft, the Utah Jazz select Gordon Hayward from Butler University.
It seems like only yesterday when Gordon Hayward was the 9th overall pick in the NBA Draft. With another season ending, however, the Bulldogs are sending yet another player to the draft. Shelvin Mack has not signed an agent, giving him until May 8th to decide if he wants to go to the NBA. Fans learned of Shelvin Mack's jump to the NBA from a unique source.
A few days ago, I actually saw it on Twitter. I can't remember exactly who. I know the Indy Star was reporting it, and then I saw it was confirmed by ESPN, and just kind of took it for what it was.
With an NBA lockout looming, there has been speculation as to if Shelvin Mack would return to campus.
I have a little bit of hope that that actually does happen, but personally you got to do what's best for him, and I wish him all the best of luck.
If Mack does enter the draft, the Bulldogs will have to replace their leading scorer from this past season.
You know, Shelvin's just been a huge leader these past 3 years, and I think they're really gonna. They have Ronald Norad and they have, you know, all the vocal leaders, but someone who really takes over a game like Shelvin did over the last couple of games in the tournament.
For right now, all Butler fans can do is wait until May 8th when he makes a final decision.
It was another big year for the men's basketball program at Butler, which means that it's an opportunity for the university to reap some benefits from all that free exposure. Mark Helmus is the Executive Vice President for Advancement at Butler, and he's been keeping busy in these last few weeks since the title game.
Well, there are a couple numeric points that you can look at. One, of course, is number of students that are enrolling, and as we all know, this year's freshman class was our largest ever. My counterpart, Tom Weed, at admissions can give you a lot more details there, but a couple points. One, last year's entering class came from a class of about 6,700 applicants, so 6,700 students applied to come to Butler for the 10-11 year. That was the most ever in Butler's history. This year, we've already had over 9,400 applications, so an increase of over 2,700 over our previous best. So obviously more and more people are knowing about Butler. For those that knew about us before, we've risen in their estimation of where they want to be. So those are great things. From a fundraising standpoint, the gifts to the Bulldog Club, the athletic fundraising piece of what we do, have grown substantially over the last several years, certainly the last two providing most of the fuel for that. Barry Collier and his staff have done a fantastic job of developing those relationships and building that along with my staff. So I think we're seeing tremendous gains there. They're going to pay off for a long time. And then the other area, of course, is PR, and that's what most people hear about and see, and you hear these numbers of hundreds of millions of dollars worth of PR, which we have absolutely gotten, and a lot of that has to do with the student application piece that I mentioned earlier. What we have to remember is those hundreds of millions of dollars aren't coming in the form of dollars, they're coming in the form of great PR for the institution. This year, we don't know what the number will be, but we'll have 2 comparison years for going the same distance, and I think it's going to be amazing.
While it may have been tough to end the women's basketball season, this team still had another 20-win year and advanced the WNIT for a 3rd straight season. Earlier this week, the team held their annual postseason banquet and honored the seniors that have helped carry the team through a tough season plagued by injuries to their key role players. If you look at some of those postseason awards that the women's team were able to collect, Brittany Bowen able to get co-MVP alongside Chloe Hamilton, both of those players doing nicely for the Bulldogs. Bowen, more the perimeter player. Chloe Hamilton, one of the best field goal percentages in all of women's college basketball. And then for Brittany Bowen, again, she wins the Offensive Player of the Year. Devin Brierly with the Defensive Player of the Year. So Brierly getting a nod, getting into the starting lineup as the starting lineup was scrambled throughout the season, but Brierly able to figure things out and really help give Coach Kuchar some versatility in that starting 5. And then the Coaches Award. Asia Bass receives that one. Bass, a key senior for this team who plugged in late in that Green Bay game in the Horizon League championship game, and so Bass able to provide some constant leadership for that team. You've got Bowen with 1,461 career points, Alyssa Pittman with 1,397 career points. Alyssa, a very active player off the bench for the Bulldogs, 6th Player of the Year in the Horizon League, a good 3-point shooter. Then that 6-man award going to Becca Davies. Time now for some news and notes around the Butler Athletic Department. Jenny Esparza in just her 2nd season with the Butler softball program, but if you didn't know any better, you'd think she's a senior on this team. Esparza's dominance on the mound has been key to some Butler wins, including one over Valparaiso on Wednesday. Esparza only let up 2 infield hits, only walked 1 in a complete game win. More specifically, she had 8 strikeouts and 23 batters faced. What makes that even more impressive is it was her 4th win in 5 days, which included their 16-inning game against Cleveland State, in which the Bulldogs won. Butler now 22-15 overall, but more importantly, 8-3 in league play. Butler got that victory over Valpo to close out a 3-game homestand. Bulldogs on a roll with their largest homestand of the year this weekend. They will move on as they host Green Bay on Saturday and Sunday. Sunday, there's 1 game at noon, and it has been listed as team day for youth and travel teams. After 2 top 10 individual performances, the Horizon League named Butler junior Michelle Nash as the Women's Golfer of the Week. This is the 2nd time that she's earned that league honor, and well-deserved for Nash. Michelle shot a 78 at the Big Four Classic hosted by famous Crooked Stick Golf Club in Carmel, Indiana this week. She finished 2nd and helped Butler get the team victory. Then Nash finished in the top 10 at the Brown Bear Invitational in Barrington, Rhode Island, where the Bulldogs finished in 6th place. So after 3 rounds for the week, Nash was just 11 over par. Butler gets back into the swing of things on April 22nd at the Horizon League Championship in Howey in the Hills, Florida. Quite a week to be Kirstie Legg of the Butler track and field team. First on Tuesday, it was announced that she was the Horizon League Runner of the Week after picking up the only win by Butler women in the Miami of Ohio Invitational. Legg won the 800-meter out of a field of 17 teams, beating 47 runners with a time of 2:11.97. That's the best time in Horizon League play this spring. She also finished in the top 10 for the 1,500-meter out of 72 runners. Butler travels to Walnut, California this week for the Mount Sac Relays this weekend. Then 1 day later, we should mention that Kirstie Legg was named Horizon League Women's Indoor Track and Field Co-Athlete of the Year. This while Butler senior Chris Gosson was named 2011 Men's Indoor Track and Field Athlete of the Year. Legg will have the chance to become the first female in the Horizon League history to win the 800 and the mile in every one of her first 3 seasons. Coming up, we've got your Blitz breakdown. Alyssa Garfinkel will join me in studio. Stay with us right here on the Bulldog Blitz. Hey there, Bulldog fans, and welcome back into the Bulldog Blitz. We have our Blitz breakdown segment, and it's Alyssa Garfinkel joining us once more. Alyssa, I'm delighted to have you in studio once again. It's an exciting time. Everybody's starting to mellow down now from the national championship run, as we documented last week. But still, men's basketball managed to make the news again. Shelvin Mack, the question was, would he stay? Would he go? What's he going to do? Well, he ends up declaring for the draft. He gets that. He doesn't decide to get the agent. So now he still has that chance to return before May 8th. But Alyssa, what do you think he's going to do in your so humble opinion?
I think he's going to end up staying. I think he's going to weigh his options, but he wants, top 20 or higher for that pick, and I just don't see him with the other guys that are entering the draft. I don't see him getting that right now. Kemba Walker, he has a bunch of guards that are above him right now that I just don't see him being in that top 20 right now. So I think he's actually going to stay, finish out his senior year, get better, and perfect his skills over the summer like he did. We saw him come so far from last summer that imagine what he can do over this summer.
And how much of it for him do you think is saying, okay, Gordon, my teammate, did it last year. He made so much money, and he's starting to have some flashes of success with the Jazz. How much of it do you think has to play with Hayward?
I think it has to do a lot of it. He's seen Gordon kind of struggle at the beginning and come out with a lot of success. We've seen Gordon lately play really well, contribute to the Jazz, but at the same time, Shelvin is a completely different position right now. Height-wise, skill-wise even, like speed, agility, everything. So Shelvin has a lot that he's going to have to work on if he wants to be at that caliber right now.
All right, so now let's say hypothetically, if he decides to go to the NBA, what happens to this team now? Mack, a source of points, especially when they got into that tournament run. He could knock them down late. Big game against Pitt. Who do you turn to, and does this team lose a step like everybody thought they would with Hayward?
I think, everyone thought that they were going to for sure lose a step, and they came out and proved everyone wrong. I think they're going to do the same thing again next year. Yes, they lose Matt Howard. Yes, they lose Shelvin Mack. But at the same time, you still have Ronald Norred. You still have all these freshmen, Kyle Marshall stepping up. So I think you're going to still see great things. You have Garrett Butcher, who kind of came in and out, but you have these freshmen that are going to step up. Eric Fromm, I would love to see something more from him. Same with the freshman Kashawn Hopkins. You saw him come in, during the run to the national championship, and he did some great things. So I think that you have a solid team that's still going to work just as hard, if not harder, to be back where they were.
And real quick, because we got about 5 seconds here, but do you think it's going to go through the slow start that they did like this past season? Is it going to take a little while to get over that?
I think it is. I think it's going to take a while for them to learn how to play without Matt, learn how to play without Shelvin, and if he's not there, and kind of change and stuff. But I think they're going to end up they're going to end up being able to do it. Brad Stevens is definitely going to prepare them for that. Okay,
now moving on to softball, this team continues to rack up the wins, especially in league play. 8-3 now in Horizon League play, and Jenny Esparza, boy, really leading this team as a sophomore. Is she the key to this team's success? And I know in softball it's unique because the pitcher can go every day. So does this team go how Jenny Esparza goes?
I think they do. You saw her against Cleveland State. She pitched 16 innings and then turned around that next Tuesday and pitched, 6 more. So I think it's incredible for her to be able to do that. And she was striking people out left and right on Tuesday. So it's not that she is hurting. She's not sore. She's not tired. She's not fatigued or anything. She is the heart of that team right there. However she's doing, the rest of the team does. They feed off of her. So if she's not doing well, you're going to see the rest of them struggle. And that's how they looked. You could see when she didn't pitch that second game against Valpo on Tuesday, you saw them kind of struggle a little bit, and they lost. They ended up losing that game. So when she's not in, she does everything for them. She's a pitcher. She also hits for herself. So that's a big key for them right now. They need her in as much as possible.
Okay, now moving from the highs of the softball team to, I suppose, the mediocrity of the baseball team right now. Not necessarily where the team wanted to be coming into the season, but this team now struggling, hovering around that 500 mark. A little bit below that, but what does this team need to do, and kind of where do you realistically see this team finishing out the season?
Right now they're 6th. They're 6 out of 7, so I think they're going to stay in that 5-6 right now, and that's just how it's going to be for them. They've struggled lately in the past couple years, and I don't know what it is for them. Going to have to be a lineup change or just some player changes or something that's going to have to spark them so they can start making some kind of change for them.
And when I'm sure you've played on teams where you get to a spot where it just seems like you're going through the motions, and you get partway through the season. What does it usually take for you? Is it a player stepping up? Is it one key instance that's really going to get this team one big game, maybe a series in league play that'll take this team?
It's all a lot of momentum right now, and momentum does everything. You know, even if it's just one play to make that one game, and then that helps you for the rest of the games. But I think it is going to be one player right now, and whether it's a pitcher, whether it's someone, you know, getting a bunch of hits right now, I don't know what that's going to do for them. And I know Luke Duncan has been playing great lately, but at the same time, they're still struggling. So what is, you know, what else? Who else is going to step up for them?
Okay, so that completes my questions for you. Now it's a toss-up time. It is time for you to generate the questions. So, Alyssa, what do you have today?
Well, I am very interested. I know football had their, you know, spring practice rained out last weekend. They're supposed to have one this weekend. What are they doing differently? They were 4-7 last year. You know, didn't have the great season that they had the year before. So, what are they doing differently to prepare for next season? You know, I'm very interested to see what they can bring to the table to get back to where they were.
It was interesting because you had Andrew Huck and the Matt Cobley situation a couple of years ago. Andrew Huck really came out of nowhere to sort of dominate the Pioneer League when they went on that great run and ended up winning the championship, and sort of had a slump this past year. So one thing to me that indicates how the team does, and it sounds simple, but how the quarterback is. You know, Huck, if he's playing well.
And also it's, you know, him clicking with his receivers.
Right.
You know, last year or 2 years ago, it was Andrew Huck and Zach Watkins. That click right there, they always had it. And last year, you know, everyone was double teaming Zach Watkins. So he had to go to Jordan Koopman. So what are they going to be able to do next year to open both of those players up? Because they both have Jordan Koopman and Zach Watkins back. So what are they going to do differently to make that happen?
Well, that'll have to come on the next season of the Bulldog Blitz. A little preview there from Alyssa to the football season. Not too far away now. Alyssa, thank you so much for joining us, as always.
Thank you.
All right, that's Alyssa Garfinkel. We will be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz to preview what's ahead this weekend on campus. This weekend, the university will host one of its most popular events on campus for the student body, Spring Sports Spectacular, an annual competition between fraternities, sororities, and independent council in almost every type of competitive event that you can imagine. What that means on Friday is that there will be no games to watch here on campus. However, Saturday, things get started at 10 a.m. when the men's tennis team hosts Valparaiso at the tennis courts out by the IM fields. And then at 1 p.m., the softball team will start up the 3-game series with Green Bay, while the baseball team will host Lawrence at that same time. Women's tennis will then take on Valpo at 2 p.m., and softball caps things off at 4 o'clock with the back end of the doubleheader against Green Bay. Sunday, it's men's tennis up first again with UIC coming to town. Softball and baseball are both at noon against the same foes. Lawrence for baseball and the Phoenix for softball. As a reminder, this is a team day for softball to encourage youth teams to get out and support the Butler softball program. Last event on the slate for Sunday, a match between Butler and UIC at 2 p.m. in women's tennis. That will just about do it for this week's episode of the Bulldog Blitz. Make sure to catch us on Hoosier TV or online at youtube.com/Bulldog Blitz Sports. Until then, I'm Mark Menner. We'll see you right back here on the Bulldog Blitz.